Nemesis, a player known for two things. First and foremost, smiling a bit too much, and being really good at this game we call League of Legends. That was a truth and a lie, and I think you know which one is which. Jokes aside, Nemesis clearly is one of the best talents the Western League of Legends ever had to offer. And today, I'll be playing his lawyer to hopefully convince you that statement is not an exaggeration by any means. His career unfortunately fell short of expectations and honestly his potential. But, and this is a big but, this was mostly at no fault of his. So despite how things turned out, to uncover just how good he was/is, we are going to be going over some of his best moments when he used to play professionally, as well as some of his backstory and the drama he sadly had to endure with Fnatic. In addition to everything I've mentioned so far, I'll also be talking about how the fanbase in the West back then did not realize how good we had it in terms of international achievements. Ever since making it to the finals of Worlds back-to-back in 2018 and 19, no Western team made it to the semis, let alone the finals. Before focusing back on the professional career of Nemesis, I also want to make one thing very clear. His accomplishments in the Korean solo queue or just his general gameplay ever since he stopped playing in the LEC is nothing to scoff at either. But once again, I will be highlighting just how good he was when he was competing professionally and simultaneously had to go through all that useless and senseless drama. I would say it would be only right if we start the sol with that unforgettable Veigar moment. It was the group stage of Worlds 2019 and T1 was 4-0 heading into this game with Fnatic. Just looking back at this Fnatic roster makes me kind of emotional, cause rekkles, Nemesis and Beppo are some of my favorite players ever. The Veigar solo kill versus Faker's Akali might not be the flashiest play, but the fact that Fnatic could steal a game against T1 at Worlds 2019 when T1 was up 4-0 up until they faced Fnatic, as I said, kind of feels crazy to me now. That game certainly wasn't about just one solo kill, but Fnatic as a whole working like a well-oiled machine. Nemesis was a big part of that. If you, like me, are a fan who continued to support him after his journey in the LEC, seeing him back with rekkles on the same team in Los Ratones is just so amazing. In that same tournament, Nemesis and the rest of the Fnatic managed to make it to the quarters, and probably the highlight of the tournament for them was eliminating RNG with Uzi and Shahu. They ended up losing in the quarters to FPX, who went on to win the whole tournament, so that's not necessarily a bad look, I suppose. Looking back, some of the most iconic plays of Nemesis on the professional stage were with champions that scale extremely well. The most obvious one is, of course, his one of the only 2 pentakills. Why did I even say that? Only 2 pentakills? For someone who played mid lane and for a relatively short amount of time as well. I think it's quite solid, but anyway. During the LEC Spring Playoffs in 2019, Nemesis took over the game against Team Vitality with his KL pick. That whole game was as close to a stomp you can possibly get by Fnatic, but Nemesis in particular played out of his mind. So come on, he definitely deserves some praise here, even though it was an easy game for him and his team. Before we jump onto his other pentakill, I want to remind you, his time in the LEC wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. And I'm not talking about all the drama he had to go through, because we know that was intense. What I mean is, it wasn't just all pentakills every single game. To give you an example, I vividly remember Cap solo killing Nemesis in spectacular fashion this one time. And yeah, it's just way too good of an outplay by Caps. He does it with his flash down and also being a level down against Nemesis, so it is extremely impressive. Do you know any other mid laners who happen to be in similar situations all the time against Caps? Well, I do, and they are called all the other mid laners in the LEC. While Nemesis was still playing in the LEC, Caps was by far the best mid laner in Europe, and he still is. But that is not mutually exclusive with Nemesis being very good himself too. I think I already made it very clear that I sincerely believe Nemesis is a beyond amazing player. But if I had to point out some negatives, I think the biggest one wouldn't be a solo kill here and there. It would be the fact that his career was cut unnecessarily short. We can sit here and argue all day long about what would have happened if it wasn't cut short, and he continued to compete in the LEC to this day. Some might say he would even surpass Caps, some might say he wouldn't amount to anything special, and I personally think coming to extreme conclusions with any hypothetical scenario is inherently illogical. So, with Nemesis, what do we have in our hands to assess how good is he really? I mean, apart from his professional career. Well, of course his accomplishments playing solo queue. It's a whole different world than pro play, I know that, but we are not talking about him just reaching Challenger or something. After reaching rank 1 in the EU West server, Nemesis managed to reach rank 2 in Korea. He sadly couldn't get rank 1 and was shy about 200 LP. By the way, just take a guess who was rank 1 at the time. It was Chovy. No one too important, you know? I heard he's kind of a solid player, so if you know him, let me know, cause it's not like he's one of the best players to ever touch League of Legends, am I right? Anyway, that's enough playing around. Let's take a look at the first pentakill Nemesis ever had in his pro play days. As if watching him completely take over with Kayle wasn't enjoyable enough, this one is also with what I would call a hyper-scaling champion, Kassadin. Definitely a thing of beauty to watch. I just love how inevitable it feels, you know? When you have a Kassadin with over 400 CS at 37 minutes with 4 kills as well, just running around, it's obviously going to obliterate everyone, especially if it's in the hands of a player like Nemesis. One interesting thing this game led me to learn more about Nemesis and his story was that he played on the same team with Crowny, who is also teammates within Los Ratones many years ago. As you can see, they played together during their Mad Lions days all the way back in 2018, but not only that, they even competed together so early into their respective careers at LAN tournaments and such, which is kind of wholesome. So, let's do an overview. What do we have so far as accomplishments of Nemesis? We have a very short-lived time in the LEC than it objectively should have been, with respectable consistency and a great peak of playing quarterfinals in Worlds after eliminating RNG. On top of that, we have rank 1 in EU West and rank 2 in Korea. If you ask me, even these are more than enough reasons for everyone to respect him as a player, at least on some level. But I've seen some people ask, if he is so good, why didn't he ever return to the LEC and just choose to stream grinding solo queue? You see, ever since Nemesis stopped playing in Fnatic, he received multiple offers from LEC teams, that is for sure, but player salaries and competitiveness within LEC has been suffering heavily due to what we call the esports winter, which is just a fancy way of saying the venture capital money was flying away from esports. This was because of many external macroeconomic reasons I won't get into right now. As you know, this is not a finance channel, but you know what, it may be surprising to hear, but I actually plan on starting a finance channel very soon as it's the field I'm in. So yeah, the approach Nemesis took when it came to these offers was quite simple. He made it clear that he doesn't want to put up with all that stress, especially after what he went through in Fnatic, unless he believed the team would be competitive and good enough to convince himself he would enjoy playing professionally again. He never got such an offer and continued to stream solo queue, even playing some for fun streamer tournaments, which he found great success in, even though it's not quite the quarterfinals of Worlds, you know? All of these things we've been going over in this video together definitely make the whole Los Ratones saga, or let's just say journey, that Nemesis chose to embark on, even more interesting. Nemesis doesn't exactly strike me as a person who would back on his word, so since he said the chance of competitive success would be the biggest criteria for him to ever play professionally again, that means he must be a big believer for the potential of Los Ratones, no? I'm pretty sure him being very close with most of the players prior to the creation of the team played a role too, and he will also be able to stream their scrims and create so much content as a streamer, of which he wouldn't be able to otherwise. That's another major positive when you really think about it. At the end of the day though, I would still say Nemesis must believe Los Ratones can be a major success competitively as well, rather than just being a random streamer team. Los Ratones showed up big time in the streamer tournament they played, even with caedrel on support. Plus, the show match against T1, which was beyond indescribable in terms of how much fun it was to watch. One thing is for certain so far, in almost every single game Los Ratones played to this day, Nemesis looked super duper strong. As a huge fan of the Rats and Nemesis, seeing him getting a second chance to compete professionally after an abrupt and unfortunate ending to his time at Fnatic, I have to say, is very satisfying. Los Ratones has been one of the best things that happened to esports in a hot minute, and covering their journey so far has been such a pleasant experience for me. So if you want to keep being updated regarding them or any other esports news, please know you are at the right place. Also, do not forget, subscribing would help me a ton. And before I forget, if you made it this far, please comment Los Ratones LEC 2026 so that I know you are the real deal. Thank you so incredibly much for watching. Last but definitely not least, please do not forget to take care of yourself until the next time. Bye bye.